Are you ready? Let's go. Gather round and listen to stories from all over the world, sparking creativity and desire. Stories that will inspire. Come on, sit down. It's the best podcast in town. Professor Panda with story adventures.
Professor Panda, wake up!
Wake
up!
What's going on here? Welcome, scholars! You must be here for the story adventure. Of course you're here for the story adventure. Why else would you be here, scholars? Wait, how did you get in here? Did I leave the door open again? No worries. My door is always open to adventurers, artists, creators, and you, scholars, of course. Scholars, I was having the most wonderful dream in the most wonderful way. We were having wonderful adventures with you leading the way. Scholars, what do you think our story adventures is going to be about today? What story lessons are we going to learn? Well, let's be on the lookout, scholars, for our story lesson, because we are going to visit a very grumpy rhino, and there may be some cake involved. What do you dream about, scholars? It's important to keep your dreams and goals fresh in your mind. Think about that, scholars, while we're on our adventure today. What do you dream about? Well, let's go, scholars. How the rhino got his skin. Long ago, among the tall trees near the shore of the Red Sea, lived a very rude rhinoceros. He had no manners then, and he has no manners now. You could recognize him by the horn on his nose. But in those days his skin was smooth and tight, and there wasn't a wrinkle in sight. He had 3 buttons on his tummy, which made it look just like a well-fitted jacket. One day, as the rhinoceros was searching for food, a traveler arrived on the beach and decided to bake a cake in his little oven. He sang to himself as he mixed flour and water, and currants and plums and lots of sugar. Happy with his mixture, he popped it in the oven while he dozed under the burning sun. Soon the sweet smell of cake filled the air. Delicious, smiled the traveler when the cake was ready. In the nearby woods, Rhinoceros suddenly stopped in his tracks and lifted his head. He sniffed and sniffed. Cake! He snorted as the warm smell wafted above his horn. Then he followed his nose and headed for the beach. When the polite traveler saw him coming, he said, "Good morning." But the rude creature didn't even give a grunt. Instead, he charged ahead, knocking the cake out of the traveler's hand. Then he spiked the cake into his horn and lumbered back to his home. There he lay in the shade, enjoying every crumb. Meanwhile, the traveler climbed the palm tree and sat on high, thinking and planning. "Just wait," he muttered. "I'll teach that rhino a lesson." A few weeks later, when searing heat prompted everyone to take to the sea, the traveler knew the time had come. He was sitting on the beach wearing his hat to screen him from the ferocious sun when he spied Rhinoceros. His eyes followed the creature as he heaved his great body along the sand. Not noticing the traveler, Rhinoceros finally stopped. Rhinoceros slowly undid his 3 buttons, took off his skin, and carried it over his shoulder as he went down to the sea to bathe, leaving his skin at the edge of the water. He waddled into the sea. The traveler immediately jumped up. He danced around the skin and rubbed his hands with glee. "I'm ready," the traveler cried. "Just you wait and see." Then he set off back to his camp. As the traveler only ever ate cake and rarely cleaned up, there were plenty of crumbs around his camp. Lots of crumbs. Crumbly crumbs. He sang as he quickly filled his hat with the stale cake crumbs. Then he raced back to the beach. Picking up the skin of the rhinoceros, the traveler sprinkled the inside with lots of dry, tickly cake and some baked currants. Then he left the skin for Rhinoceros, climbed to the top of the palm tree and waited. Rhinoceros took his time in the sea. He lay on his back and blew bubbles through his nose. He splashed and splashed, never caring about others in the water. Finally, as his great big tummy started to rumble, and feeling much cooler from his swim, Rhinoceros returned to the beach, thinking about what he was going to eat. Rhinoceros picked up his skin and buttoned it up. No sooner he had finished closing the last button than the crumbs started to itch. He wriggled and wriggled. He began to scratch, but that made it worse. "Ow! Ow!" he cried loudly. Then he lay down on the sand and rolled and rolled and rolled. But every time he rolled, the cake crumbs dug into him, making it more and more uncomfortable. He was beginning to feel very hot again and very, very crabby. He lumbered up to a palm tree and rubbed himself against the trunk, but still the itching continued. He pressed his shoulders so hard against the tree that he rubbed his skin into a great fold. Then his legs started to itch, so he rubbed them up and down the tree until folds appeared over both legs. He sat down feeling very tired, and he pressed his itchy tummy against the tree. He rubbed off every button. Finally, a huge fold of skin appeared across his tummy. The traveler looked down from the palm tree, watching his plan working. The rhinoceros became more and more bad-tempered as the cake crumbs continued to itch and scratch. Feeling exhausted and very angry, the rhinoceros finally gave up and headed back home. And from that day on this, every rhinoceros has great folds in his skin and very bad-tempered, all because of the cake crumbs inside. The end. Well, scholars, how did you like our story adventure? What did you think about the rhinoceros? Did he follow the golden rules, or did he create his own fate? Well, scholars, he surely was grumpy, and he did mistreat others and everyone around him. He even stole that traveler's cake. Poor traveler would not take that transgression lying down, scholars. And now we know how the rhino may have gotten those folds, and why he's always so extra grumpy. Well, scholars, have you thought about your dreams? What about your goals? Sometimes, scholars, dreams and goals are hard things to chase. But without dreams and goals, scholars, we would not have a great story adventure. So, remember, scholars, you are the creator of your story. If you want more story adventure, scholars, keep listening. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Visit our social media outlets. Don't forget, scholars, if you want to support the story adventures, visit our website, pceocentral.com. We have workbooks, learning material, storybooks, and more. Until next time, scholars, keep reading.